Hello everyone, my name's Ken Sloan. I'm the owner and vigneron of Mistletoe Wines, which is located in the beautiful Lower Hunter Valley, New South Wales, Australia, Australia's oldest continual grape growing region. I'm here today to specifically speak to you about our Mistletoe Semillon 2019. This is an enduring style that we've made for the last 23 years. It's one of our most popular wines and is very appreciated by our Asian visitors to our cellar door. It appeals to new wine drinkers, and the reason for that is that it has a little bit of residual sweetness to balance the acidity that makes it much more approachable as a young wine. And it should be drunk as a young wine, although it can be cellared, which I will talk about later. The technique that we use for making this wine is a bit unusual to what most producers use. Most producers are chasing quantity, not quality. Our motto is quality without compromise, and we follow that at every facet of wine production, from the vineyard right through to the finished product in the bottle. And the thing is that what we start with is hand harvested grapes. We don't machine harvest the grapes. Because we hand harvest the grapes, we are able to get them into the winery in a much more pristine condition. They're not damaged. When they are harvested by a machine, they tend to be bruised and battered and juice running out of them, and it oxidises the wine before it actually gets into production. With the vineyard located where the winery is, we can have these grapes from the vineyard into the winery and ready to be worked on within a matter of 10 or 15 minutes. And that means that we're getting them in there fresher and much better condition. With the whole bunch pressing technique that we use for making this wine, we only use the pristine and what we call free run or first run juice. This juice is not contaminated by bitter phenolics that come from the grape seeds and the grape skins and the grape stalks. So it's just beautiful, pure, pristine juice. What we do with that juice then is that we cool it very rapidly, settle the solids out of it before we add the yeast to commence fermentation. We have a long cold fermentation period, usually about a week to 10 days, where it's fermented very slowly. Again, that is done for a specific reason, so that the wine doesn't heat up during that process and produce caramelised or off flavours in the wine. At the end of that time, we let it settle and sit on top of what we call the spent lees, or the sediment settles to the bottom of the tank, and we leave it sit there for about 3 months before we clean it up to bottle it. That adds more complexity and flavour to the palate of the wine. This wine has about 30 grams per litre residual sweetness. There are two different ways of having a wine remain sweet at the end of the fermentation process. And one of them is just to add sweetness back to the grapes, to the wine after it's finished fermentation. So you can do that by adding pure grape juice back there just to sweeten the wine up. But the way that we do it results in a much more delicate style of wine, and that is that we slow the fermentation down and then we actually stop it before all the grape juice has converted into alcohol. And so the thing is that what we end up with a wine that has residual sweetness, but it doesn't have as high alcohol. And this is a very important thing. With the lower alcohol, you can enjoy this wine at any time of the day, and you're not going to end up in a situation that you don't want to be because of that. Hunter Semillon is better bottled as a very young wine to retain all those fresh citrus lemony flavours. And so we bottle this usually only about 4 months after we've harvested the grapes, and we get it in the bottle in pristine condition. The other thing that has changed with wine, particularly in Australia where it was a new thing, is that we moved to screw caps for sealing our wines back about probably 20 years ago. And we will never ever return to using corks on our wines. For wines like Semillon and Riesling, etc., these lighter, drier styles of wines, they keep so much better under screw cap. They actually last better and keep longer. The screw cap is a real answer for preserving these wines and getting them to the consumer in perfect condition. Food-wise, this wine works with food that we would eat normally in the warmer months. It's an ideal wine for spring and for summer. So the thing is that you can eat this with seafood in particular, with chicken dishes. That lemony citrusy flavour adds, it can work so well with so many different types of foods. That little bit of sweetness cuts through the acidity and makes it more acceptable, especially with some spicy dishes. It works really a treat with spicy food. Celery, we recommend that it's normally be drunk within a period of the first 2 or 3 years, but I can tell you with experience that we have had examples of this wine bottled under screw cap that are now over 10 years of age, and they are drinking beautifully. They have taken on the typical characteristics of the dry honey semillons, where that honey and toastiness comes through and adds further complexity to the wine. So if you're able to, just put a bottle aside and leave it for a few years and let it develop in the bottle. You might be very, very surprised. And now let's taste the wine. The first thing that we look at is the colour, and you'll notice that this wine is very pale in colour. It is really pristine, it's glowing, it looks nice and shiny and clean in the glass. The next thing that we do, you can see by swirling it around, what that does is not there for showing off or anything like that. It's there actually because it enables the wine to breathe and give off the aromas that have been trapped in the bottle. And so we lean forward and then have a big sniff of it. Not just a little breath, but have a big sniff of the wine. So you can smell all sorts of different things in there. There's herbal influences, flowers, citrus, etc., etc. Then, after having done that, that sets your palate up. You can actually feel your taste buds starting to work when you actually smell the wine. When you taste the wine, you need to swirl it around your mouth, under the tongue, over the tongue, up the sides of your cheeks. What that does is allow all of your taste receptors to take on the taste of the wine. So what you're seeing in this is, the first thing is that lovely acidic front on the wine, where it starts quite acidic on the tongue, and then lemon and floral notes follow, and then it dries off at the finish. So, in closing, what I'd like to say is that we hope that you enjoy this wine when you drink it as much as we have enjoyed making it for you.